I'm going to start making, video diaries for myself because I just have way too many grievances with my life and I'm not really sure how else to explain them or express them to people because it's lingering in the back of my mind, but whenever I need it in the moment, when somebody asks me if I'm okay, it kind of all just disappears and I fall into the habit of just saying, yeah, I'm okay. And that's not true at all. Most of the time, I'm not okay. I don't think I'm okay. I don't think I think okay. So I guess there's a start of me trying to sort out my thoughts, rather than having these individual discussions scattered throughout my life. Let's have a consistent stream of things. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is pretty much, just life in general. I feel like life is a scam. I feel like when you're born without choice. Everything for you and your life up until a certain point is randomized and it's completely out of your control. You don't get to choose which house you're born in, which state you're born in, which city you're born in, which country you're in. You don't get to choose your financial situation. You don't get to choose your parents. You don't get to choose your family. You don't get to choose your name until way later. You don't get to choose how you look. You don't get to choose how your brain is structured and how that will determine your future decisions. You don't get to choose any of those base features, those base things. You're just put right into the thick of everything and expected to stick with that. So we're already off to a bad start. And then in your formative years, say from when you're a baby to say maybe like only a couple years old, grade school, right? Let's say around there, you're completely at the mercy of the people around you. If your father wants to beat on you, what's going to stop him if you are only living with him? You can run away and at the risk of your own life. Your mother could scream at you, emotionally abuse you, manipulate you. You could get raped, get, molested. You could get beat up at school. You could get spit on, picked on. And there's not much you can do because apparently it's just not in your control because of your age, because you lack the resources and the knowledge and the strength to really fight back. So, bad shit, number 2. And then when you're old enough, which isn't really you being old enough, it's just people think you're old enough. People assume you're old enough. After a certain age, you're kind of just expected to know exactly what to do. Even if you didn't have a proper upbringing, even if nobody really helped you, nobody really showed you and just expected you to understand these things, you're expected to face the world. You're expected to go out there and just, make a living. Everything is shit. And let's say you went through all that, right? There's always going to be something over the horizon that could be gold or it could be shit. But what I like to think the gold is gold covered, is shit covered in gold, really, and then more shit. We're always chasing after another high, even though we're surrounded by nothing but misfortune. You got that, you got that job you were hoping and praying for. You got into that school you were hoping and praying for. And then let's say next week your mother dies and you actually had a close relationship. Because the universe is in this kind of balance, there is always going to be just as much shit as there is, gold covered shit is what I like to call it. And the reason I'm calling the so-called good things gold covered shit is just because it seems so fleeting, especially in the society that, I live in, American society, it seems so fleeting. You get enough money, to get yourself some fancy clothes, and you feel good, you worked for that money, you got your clothes, you look good, you feel good. And then you start thinking to yourself, I need more. You get a fancy car, you feel good, you got a car, I need more. And you keep going and going and going. And a lot of what is the good things we consider is just this materialistic shit. You know, this is like the marker that you've quote unquote made it in life. And, you know, let's say that instead of materialistic shit, let's say you're going to focus more on your relationships. It's always just this huge risk to get into a relationship because you have to expose yourself and be vulnerable with somebody who may not actually have the best intentions for you, and you don't realize it until at the end of the day you've been completely blindsided and left out by the side of the road to dry and rot. And it's just, life is just a matter of flipping a coin and hoping for the best when it comes to relationships. And it just is similar to when you were first brought into the world, where nothing's really in your control, it feels like. And to get out of this cycle, to get out of all these things, you have to end your life, right? But then we don't even know what happens after you end your life, because life is all we know. You know, the one thing that's not in balance is that when you're on earth, there is no death with you. There could be death of the soul, but there's no death of the flesh. Your body, your being is still alive. And people become so afraid to cross the boundary over into death because what's waiting for us? Like me personally, I wouldn't want to die and get sent to some kind of eternal damnation, like in religion, like in Christianity, because that's just putting myself in one shitty spot into an even shittier spot, and that's not fair. You know, just because I made like a few hiccups in my life or something, you know, maybe because I stole, cheat, maybe I could have stole, cheat, and lie just to get by, right? And I could still get put into hell if I don't accept some being in the sky as my Lord and Savior. Just crazy to me. Yeah, life is a scam.